Alright, so in this video, I'll be doing some top-down analysis on XRP. Someone actually requested that I do a video on XRP in the comments of one of my videos. Shout out to M. Hamlin for requesting that I make an XRP video. And, I haven't really done this before. I don't get a lot of requests for, altcoins or things for me to chart, but I may start doing it more often. So if you want to request, an altcoin or some other asset for me to chart, drop it in the comments of my videos and I may take a look at it. I won't promise that I'll get to all of them, but if I'm looking for a video to make, I may dig through my comments and look at some of the things that people are requesting. I just ask, please don't request me something that's, been on an exchange for 10 days. I want to actually have some data that I can chart and, come up with some reasonable analysis and ideas off of. So, like I said, I'll be doing top-down analysis on XRP. I'm going to start off on the weekly time frame, and first I'll mark out high time frame market structure, get an idea of what that is looking like, and then we'll jump into some market cipher analysis, and I'll take a look at some other significant levels, and we'll see if we can come up with some ideas from there. So, marking out weekly structure from the lowest point that we have on Binance, we pretty much only have these 4 points. We have the low, we have this high, a higher low, and then a higher high. If I move this drawing, you can see that this wick over here did not touch this high over here, so we only have these 4 points. That means that XRP has been trading in between these two weekly market structure points for basically this entire time since the bull run, I guess. So if I take a measured move, we've been trading in between these points now for about 960 days. So that's like 2.5 years, something like that. And even if we go down to the daily time frame, we can see that if we zoom out and go over here, we did not have a daily flip in structure either. So, basically following the weekly structure from this point to this point, if you want to take internal structure on the daily, I would probably say it would go from this low up to this high. Then we put in this low over here. And from there, I would bring the next point all the way up to the high. None of these retracements here are market structure points on the daily. So if we check, did we take out that low point on the daily time frame? So we actually have. We have taken out a market structure point, a higher time frame market structure point, but including this internal daily market structure point would not really do anything for us because you can see that the only point to touch it was the actual low. So even if you were taking structure from here, it would go from this high and then down to this low. So that doesn't give us any market structure points we can work with. It's still high and the low essentially. I would probably focus more on the internal structure from the top rather than trying to find structure from all the way back here because, you're not going to get much. You get 2 points basically. And I've actually already marked that out so I can turn on this daily structure. So, we had a bit of a bullish flip here. This last lower high did get taken out over here. And then we flipped it back to bearish. And from there, we were in a daily downtrend for quite a long time with the 2 points being this lower high over here and then this lower low. This actually was the low point. We have not touched this low since. So the next time that we had a development with market structure was when we came up to touch this lower high and we wicked it. So, the most recent market structure development following the daily market structure, which is internal, but it's as primary as you can get right now, so I wouldn't even really call it internal. But we have had an SFP of that market structure point. So, we got this massive wick. I remember this wick. It was basically just a straight shot up to here. And of course, it would find a stopping point at a significant area. We SFP'd this market structure point, and from there, we got a pretty significant move to the downside. So now what I would do is I would take a look at the structure from this high down, because we can see that we haven't broken any structure following that. I can mark out the internal structure from this point to this point, and essentially it goes like this. We had this high, this low, and then we came straight up to the high. Since it was a straight shot up, there was no market structure that we could break on any significant time frame here. So really, we haven't broken structure following this SFP, which, if we had, that would be a lot more bearish. But, really all we've done is gotten a wick right down towards this market structure point. And if I put a horizontal line there, not just a brush, you can see that this is almost equal lows. We came very close to that low on Binance. Maybe we took it out on another exchange, but like I said, I'm not going to click around to different exchanges. Binance is typically pretty accurate, and it's a significant enough exchange where I will trust its price action. Maybe I would be concerned if Bybit took it out because that would be significant, but we're not going to get that complicated with it. We'll just say that we have equal lows below us, which essentially just means dollar signs. There is still liquidity down below this low that we did not take out with this wick. Now, we did take out liquidity from over here, but anyone that had their stop losses down below this low, if they didn't close the trade manually, they are still in their longs. So, since we have not broken any structure following this SFP, what we can do is take a look at the internal structure of this leg. And what we can see here is we have actually gotten a bullish break on the daily time frame of the internal structure from that high. So we do have a lower high here, then a lower low, and we have come up to close a candle above there. So I'd say this bullish close does definitely take away from the bearishness of this SFP. It could potentially mean that this SFP isn't going to fully play out, which if it did fully play out, we would expect, since this low failed to take out this high with a close, that you would eventually make your way back down there. But if structure is not agreeing with that, maybe there's a chance that we don't retrace all the way back down to this low. Maybe the low is already put in, even though I think there is still reason to come lower because of the liquidity below us. This is the first signs of this SFP failing, essentially. So we got a little bit of context from the market structure. I wouldn't say there's anything clear cut. There's a lot of possibilities here. Maybe this bullish trend that we just created maintains itself, and maybe we eventually do make our way up to this high, which I think this high right now is, the most important point. I'd say actually this high and this low over here are the two most important points. If we close a candle above or below either of those points, then that could indicate with a pretty high probability what would happen next. And I think if we close below here, then this would be next. And if we close above here, we are then finally breaking this daily structure, which is internal, but it's the most significant structure that we can really go off of right now. So yeah, if we close above this wick, we would officially be breaking this structure bullishly. So I'll make sure I have everything labeled correctly. That was an SFP over there. And I want to mark out this high as being a significant market structure point. And I want to mark out this low over here as being a significant market structure point. So now we can turn off these path tools. We know what levels we're looking at. And next thing I'd do is, let's take a look at some other significant levels. So let's first off pull some ranges. Now the ranges here are a little odd. I'd say there's a few different ways you could pull the range here. And the first one I'll try is from the high. And, this is about what I expected. Most of the volume is at the low end. We have spent more time in this low end of price rather than up here. So it makes sense that there's more volume down here. And we are right now at the high end of this range. The value area high is just above us. We almost came back to back test it. Maybe if I adjust this value area slightly, we did hit off the value area, but, we're pretty close to the high of the range. So that is something to note. Now I will also take this pull from the low that we put in. So here, the point of control and the value area low are pretty much the same. The only thing that changed is the value area high moved down significantly. So we're actually above this value area high. I'm not really seeing a very clear range for me to mark out. Maybe you could, use a technique where you take the most recent high and go to the left, and maybe you'd pull it from there. We'll see what that looks like. And yeah, that's pretty much the same as pulling it from the low. So, I'd say the most important info that we got is that the point of control and the value area low is just above us, somewhere in that box down there. We can also see that we are running into a pretty significant area of support and resistance. This zone right around here has been resistance and support for us multiple times. So yeah, I'd just say in terms of normal support resistance zones, this is a pretty significant area right here. And now before I get into the market cipher analysis, before I even turn market cipher on, let's just kind of go over what the ideas are that I'm seeing and thinking about in this moment. And there are a few ideas that I have, nothing like super short term, but then again, I haven't really looked at the local stuff. I'm more so just looking at the macro. So, I would say number one, if we SFP this low, if we grab that liquidity and then get some other confirmations that, it was a successful SFP, I think, running those lows could provide a nice potential long. And, going into that internal structure that I talked about from this high down, we could still technically do that. At this point, we have not really continued structure following this break. So I'd say if we retrace now and we do get that SFP, we could still maintain this bullish structure that we just created by getting this bullish break. You are technically allowed to SFP the opposite market structure point. So yeah, right now this could be an idea, maybe running this low, getting some other confirmations, and maybe looking for a long from there. We know that the point of control was just below us, so that could be an area that we get a bounce from. If I just pull that up again, it seems, pretty reasonable that we could get a wick down to that point of control. So that would probably be idea number one. I like the fact that we have equal lows. That gives us a reason to go down to there, and it is a market structure point. So, might as well put a little trade idea here. Now, obviously, this idea will depend on what price action looks like as we make our way down here. And, I'm not going to limit order this. I want to see confirmations following this. So, yeah, this is not just an idea I would limit order. I don't set limit orders on ideas anyway. So, don't get the wrong idea. This is just an area that I would be interested in looking for confirmations. And, the other thing that I'd be really paying attention to would be if we can close above this high. I think if we close above this high, we are then flipping that daily structure bullish. And if we get a retracement, there is a pretty high likelihood that it will be a higher low before continuing that structure. If it is an aggressive enough break, if we come up and just wick this high, or if we just barely close above it, that would not be enough for me to say, okay, we're definitely going to put in a higher low and then a higher high. I want to see some things that really make me certain of it, and I think an aggressive break would, be a pretty good sign to start with. I would like to see other confirmations as well, but that is an idea that I would consider as well as just closing above this high and then looking for a retracement. And one more idea I'll consider, looking at this internal structure again. What happens if price now makes its way back up to this high? Well, this high is now a confirmed market structure point. I'd say this retracement is enough for, a daily retracement. So if we come up to this high, this is a significant point. If we SFP it, I think that is, a significant enough thing. And if there are other confirmations, then maybe that could be a short down to at least this point. And if we touch this high again, then the higher low would move up to right here. So at that point, I'd no longer be looking at this idea because this would no longer be a market structure point. Now, there is still equal lows there, and there's still a point of control down there, but I would need to see something else to go along with it because, at that point, market structure would become bearish because we would have broken bearish right here. So that is pretty much the high time frame basic market structure stuff. Now let's go into some market cipher stuff. So taking a look at the weekly time frame, the first thing I want to look at is what was market cipher looking like as we took out this high over here, because this is a very significant development. And, I have to say that the fact that we did not see any divergences on that high is actually, less of a bearish thing than I may have thought it was just looking at price action. If we had seen divergences here with money flow and momentum, then I would put a lot more weight on this SFP. But since we didn't, I think that, there is a much better chance that the retracement from this SFP is already over. Now, we'll have to see how local price action develops. Maybe the low isn't necessarily in yet. Maybe we range here for a little bit. But, the fact that we don't see divergences on this SFP makes me put less weight on it. And looking at what has happened since then, we have seen, a few interesting things. Number one, money flow has actually put in a higher high here, a very slight higher high, but it has put in a higher wave. And, very interestingly, we may be seeing what you could call a hidden bearish divergence. Now, it's not often that you see this. I can't remember the last time I've seen a hidden bearish div with money flow. That isn't something that typically happens, but money flow did put in a higher high as price put in a lower high, so maybe you could technically call it that. But since it's money flow we're looking at, I don't really look at it in like a weakness sense. There is still more money coming in to the asset, so maybe it is just kind of taking its time here, and maybe we'll eventually see it actually move where the money is saying it should go, which the money flow is still increasing on the weekly time frame. But we are seeing momentum get a little move to the downside. We actually just printed a red dot here. Now let's take a look at how the VWAP crossed over the zero line, because I think that could give some more context. And we can see that it was with an outwards curve. So this is kind of a sign of weakness for the bear side. If this was more of an inwards curving VWAP, I would say that, okay, maybe this is more of a bearish thing. But since it was inwardly curved, meaning like as the VWAP approached the zero line, it was essentially lessening in strength, because the stronger the move down is, the more aggressively it will turn to the downside. So what this is showing to me is potentially we could see this curvature continue until that VWAP turns around, and maybe we get some continuation here. And maybe then we can see the money flow continue to grow as well. So we'll have to see about this. Just based off of the VWAP, though, it does look like we have more potential for continuation here. But, we'll have to take a look at the lower time frames and see what they are looking like, because they will give us some more context. So now pulling up the daily time frame. Something interesting here, we have had a nice little shift in momentum and money flow following this retracement after that SFP. So money flow and momentum got to move to the downside following that retracement after this significant development. Not surprising. And since we have seen it turn to the upside, money flow crossing over the zero line, momentum now putting in higher highs. And it does look like, locally things may be taking another little turn to the downside. The VWAP is crossing over, and there is a bit of an inward curve with this VWAP, so this is kind of looking like a strong turn to the downside. This is what I mean by an inward curved VWAP. But, overall money flow is not looking too bad. It looks like, even if momentum comes down a bit more, we could still see money flow put in a higher low. Maybe it just dips into the red, something like that. And overall it seems like we may still see this trend of increasing momentum and money flow continue. But again, let's go down to a lower time frame and see what they are saying about how the daily will most likely develop. That's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to look at the lower time frames and see how they could potentially lead into the higher time frames. Okay, so on the 4 hour, we are seeing that momentum and money flow are turning to the downside. And I have to say money flow is looking kind of weak right now in terms of, this move that we've gotten back into the green. It didn't really have great curvature as it moved back to the upside. It was kind of like a drastic move, and then it just sort of started hugging the zero line just barely above the green. So we're not seeing good follow through once we cross back into the green. So, ultimately I'd say the 4 hour is definitely on a retracement, money flow, momentum coming down. So I'd say, based off of this, it is likely that the daily maybe retraces a little bit more. I would pay attention to how the 4 hour develops and how the daily develops off of that. And, maybe once the 4 hour and the daily start to turn around, maybe that is when we see the weekly VWAP kind of turn around. But, again, I'm kind of thinking pretty far ahead here. We'll have to see how things develop. That is basically my analysis. We know what the important levels are. I'd say the most important levels are here and here. And we kind of know what we want to see from Market Cipher if we're going to tackle any of those areas. If we're going to get a move to the upside, we want this weekly to turn around. We want to get some continuation here, and we'll pay attention to the lower time frames to maybe predict when or if that's going to happen. And if we're going to tackle the low, then we'll probably just see the 4 hour and the daily continue to retrace. We'll see momentum and money flow continue to come out. And, we'll take it from there. All right, well, that pretty much wraps it up for this video. I will probably make some follow-ups in the future to this video. We'll see how things develop from here. So, if you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, and leaving a comment. All of that helps to support my channel, and I appreciate everyone that does that. And I will see you all in the next video.